Happy Motivational Monday, Facebook family. The book review I have for you today is a book called Intuitive Eating by Evelyn Trebow and Elise Rush. These two registered dietitians have written this book some time ago that talks about being guided internally to your meal and nutrition choices rather than dieting and submitting to a dieting mindset. A dieting mindset is one where it's regimentation, it's following food rules that you didn't come up with, but you're trying to make yourself fit that. And I tell you, before a few days ago, I didn't know that this was a book, but it has made such an impact on our culture that the term intuitive eating is pretty mainstream. And so, in in vlogging about this term intuitive eating and what it is, because I've used it so much, I discovered there was a book about it, and it is so interesting to me because it's one of those full circle moments. In this book, there were a lot of observations that I had in my own journey. In my journey, I've had a lot of people stop me and ask me, "What is it that you're doing?" Since I've lost over 80 pounds from my highest weight, and I just decided that there is got to be a way for me to enjoy this process where I'm not focused on an end game scenario, where I'm not restricted or what's the word, or held back, or yeah, restricted from eating. I have to be able to enjoy anything that I would like to eat. And so I came across certain people that pretty much were espousing different ideas that I used to contribute to what ultimately the formula that ultimately started to me. And the idea of having internal controls and having your internal drives manage what you eat first came to me through a program by Gwen Shamblin on the internet, on YouTube, called Way Down Workshop. And in Way Down Workshop, she talks about other subconscious factors that may really be driving your eating choices, and how to surrender that to the Lord and allow Him to satisfy you, and how to learn to listen to real physiological hunger signals. So that really helped. And as I implemented that, a lot of the ideas that I now see in this book are that are articulated in this book, I happen to have come across the same observations uh, in my journey. One of the observations is that dieting. First of all, in the book, they go through the psychological damage and the physiological damage caused by dieting. Dieting is no bueno, very, very bad. Dieting or relying on an external factor, external rules, and trying to make yourself fit that, or aiming for keeping foods out of your regimen, unless of course you're allergic, right? It goes against every instinct that you have, every natural instinct that you have. And I like the way this book articulates how it violates your personal autonomy. We need to exert our personal autonomy, our ability to rule ourselves. This is why when you give people advice on what they should do about their food choices or their money, or it's like you're stepping over boundaries, because we are meant to handle these things on our own. We've already been to school, we've already have our home training, and so we naturally resist, even against our better judgment. We resist having external dictators over these areas of our lives. And so I like the way these authors put it. Dieting represents an internal violation. You have your own psychological boundaries about what to think or what to believe when it comes to what you eat. So external rules in dieting invades your personal boundaries and your private space. Um, and that private space is it protects your eating wisdom. Eating is a very fundamental human activity. And that resonated with me. That resonated with me. And this is why so often um, when you can't offer advice because everyone feels like, no, I have to figure it out for me. That might not work for me. Something might work for me, but I have to figure it out. And I think everyone should have the freedom to design their own program because each of us are genetically different and completely unique. However, the guidelines should be on how to listen to our internal cues and how to really be observant so that we're successful and honest in the process of developing something that works. So they pretty much established how psychologically unhealthy dieting is, but I like the distinction that they make that hunger cues, they're there for a reason, and it's almost like a duh moment, like this is so obvious, right? If you're hungry, it really signals that you should eat. Um, but what happens is that with dieting, you you start to second guess yourself and second guess your internal signals, whether it's being hungry or being satisfied or being overfull. You don't even know anymore. Um, and this comes from this place of looking for external cues in order to guide your choices on what to eat. They have a technique that might sound revolutionary for anybody who is used to the whole concept and the paradigm of dieting. One is the habituation effect, which is basically that if you give yourself unconditional permission to eat food, then all foods are going to feel normal to you, and you're not going to go crazy when you have an opportunity to eat something that you've been restricting yourself, from which you've been restricting yourself. That makes sense to me because I think that whenever I fall into the ditch of trying to restrict to achieve a particular goal, I find myself going crazy and overeating the foods that I'm not supposed to eat whenever I do give myself permission to eat them eventually. And I like how they offer helpful hints that removing, that giving yourself permission to eat whatever foods, complete unconditional permission, it removes that emotional charge from the food so that you don't have this feeling of the forbidden fruit. Like you just got to have it. As soon as you forbid something, then it becomes so desirable. And they offer some insight as well that I think is very important. That because this is such a complex issue. This is only one book and one perspective, but I think especially if you're starting your journey, this is a perspective that you must listen to. You must consider. They discuss eating as a source of nurturance. Um, Eating serves a role. You know, like when you eat comfort foods. Foods are meant to have that effect on us to some degree. And I'm not saying that it is absolutely wrong to seek comfort in food from time to time. The problem becomes really apparent when it is your only source of nurturance, where you don't feel that you are allowed to take care of yourself in any other way than to eat. Uh, the, we must rediscover the concept of self care, of nurturing, sleep, relaxation, prayer, meditation, just taking care of yourself, getting your hair done, your style, your wardrobe. There's so many elements of self-nurturing, and the distinction that they make that I really like is a difference between unconscious eating and intuitive eating. Intuitive eating, yes, your cravings are driven, your choices are driven by what you genuinely crave. However, unconscious eating, it can be subliminal drives to eat that have nothing to do with hunger. Uh, and so these points are I guess they are exposed in the book, and I find them very helpful. That's a very helpful distinction in my case when it comes to attempting to describe this to people. So I have a couple of caveats in reading this book. And like I said, it's only a part of the picture, it's not the entire picture. So I can't size it up or attack it at all because I think it's a very needed perspective. I do believe that eating should be completely internally driven. I really believe that. And for some people who are more psychologically vulnerable, I would say, like myself, restriction just doesn't work in any way whatsoever. It just really creates this emotional stress like you just don't believe. And so long as there isn't any allergies associated with it, then I just don't it's not worth it. I think you get more out of adding than trying to take away. So this book has a couple of caveats. I have a couple of caveats about reading the book. I think that this book is about creating a baseline healthy attitude about eating. Um, my caveat is like today we are living in a nutritionally challenged industrial society where poor nutrition can affect the way your internal systems work. So there are a lot of factors that create noise, and these factors can range from addictions to distractions like stimulants that are in the food that really work against you. So I think that there, at some point in your journey, there has to be some implementation of guidelines to that work explicitly to repair this system. And so it's not just about giving up on external guidelines, but rather taking proactive efforts, not passive efforts, to repair that internal driving system. And I think that those proactive efforts shouldn't be by limiting macros, but by rather adding micronutrients in a proactive way. That's my opinion about it. I just believe that one of the problems that industrialized food causes is a malnutrition or a lack of nutrition due to the fact that the processed foods take up so much of our caloric and satisfy so much on a caloric level that we miss out on essential nutrients that help us to regulate the food choices in an intrinsic, intuitive way, if you will. So that would be my caveat as far as reading the book. And I know this is a long contribution, but I think with this book, it's definitely worth it. And like I said, I've just started a new YouTube channel, and in it, I'm exploring the process of going through in my journey, developing an intrinsic approach to health. That I am intuitively driven to do things that are good for me, good for my health and my well being on many different levels. And so part of that journey was exploring what intuitive eating is. And I'm going to put a link to the first YouTube video that explores what intuitive eating is that I filmed before I read this book. So if you like to look at that for comparison, I would like to have it there for you. I'm looking forward to hearing your comments. I really, really would like for some of you out there to read this book I would recommend it as an audiobook because it sounds more like a step-by-step audio program. And so it's just about 4 hours long in that format. And I would love for you to share your feedback. Um, this is a topic of discussion that I would enjoy having. So thank you so much for tuning in. I know it's been a long one, but this book is definitely worth the attention and worth the time. Have a great rest of your Monday, and we'll see you next week.